Hi, everyone. We are so happy to see such a great turnout. This is wonderful. I'm Robin Petzold, and I'm chairing the Board of Trustees this year. And I'm just very excited to have you here. I'm excited to see so many of the trustees here, see so many of the Friends of Foundation, so many of the long-term staff. It's wonderful to get together to celebrate. And that's what we're doing today, is celebrating Susan's tremendous commitment to this library. In a period in our society where people generally stay with a job on average of 4.6 years, we're celebrating someone who has stayed with the library for over 40 years, which including 25 years as our leader as the director, which is an amazing tenure in any organization. So again, let's give a round of applause. So before I came today, I started thinking a little bit about the difference between a leader and a director or a manager. And a leader provides vision. A leader leads a culture in an organization. Here, our culture has been built on respect, inclusion. A leader builds and supports a team. She doesn't just manage the team. She responds to the needs of the society and of our community. And I think this has been a prime example of the difference between a leader and a manager. Susan and all of her staff over all the years have made the library the hub of this community. It's been the place to explore new ideas, to learn new skills, to find old friends and new friends, and maybe even read a book at times. And she has changed all of us in this room for the better. Through the library itself, through her role as a committed community member, and as a friend to many of us here. So while we're celebrating this today, I also want to make sure we have time for everyone to tell Susan how very much she's meant to you. I'm going to turn this over to Tom Gelman to give a few of his remarks, and then I'll be back in a moment.
Thank you, Robin. How is it possible that Susan is retiring? Susan, it seems that she just recently got the job as director, just 24 years ago. I was directed to speak today for no more than 5 minutes, so here it goes. Okay. Susan, nice job. No, really, nice job. Thanks. I suspect I was asked to participate today because I've known Susan for about as long as she's worked at the public library. She graduated with an MA in Library Sciences in 1977 and began full-time employment then at the Iowa City Public Library, initially as the information librarian. At about the same time, 1978, I graduated from law school and started my career. And it was in the early 80s that the library became an intermittent extracurricular activity of mine, and I first got to know Susan. We have managed to bump into each other over the years, usually pertaining to some mission of the library. So it is a real pleasure for me to provide a few remarks today. For me, and I bet Susan, from 1977 to now seems like a blink of the eye. Yeah. It is in the very earliest years of the community leadership program, I believe before Susan was director. At a retreat in Galena, I got to better know Susan. Then a participant, I was an early program chair. It was evident that Susan was destined for very good things. While it is not my intent to take any of the credit, I recall having the pleasure of writing a letter of reference for Susan once she somewhat reluctantly decided in 1994 she was in fact qualified to apply for the library director position. But how amazing she is became truly evident in 2000 and 2004 when she led and was able to complete an $18+ million bond referendum, the biggest ever, and the resulting renovation and expansion of the Iowa City Public Library. And just among us friends, yes. And just among us friends, it was no renovation. It was a tear down and rebuild. Yes, yes. Which was truly an amazing accomplishment for a public building, for a public facility. The library was somewhat underwhelming at the time.
And we only closed for 2 weeks.
That's right, that's right. So the library was somewhat underwhelming at the time, but became quite spectacular. But while the building is wonderful, Susan demonstrated throughout her career it is really about service. In my limited time at this podium, I choose not to rattle off all of Susan's accomplishments and awards, of which there are many. Rather, what I would really like to do as an unelected representative of the community and a grateful community is to give Susan a big community thank you for her many years of dedicated service and leadership of the library, and giving us something we Iowa Cityans could always be immensely proud of and brag about to visitors and to our out-of-town friends and family. I mean, how many times have we all said, and if you don't already know, we have a great public library, the best anyway. Susan has followed in her predecessor's footsteps by keeping the library great, and during her tenure led her to become even better. This was not an easy task. As a publicly supported institution, there has been an ongoing roller coaster of budgetary issues and an absolute revolution in information and technology affecting the library at its very core. Certainly today, the Iowa City Public Library is not your grandmother's public library. So as a self-appointed spokesperson for the Iowa City community, we acknowledge and thank Susan for many years of stellar service and leadership. There's nothing more that we could have asked for her from her 41-year career entirely at the Iowa City Public Library. Particularly, thank you for your loyalty, your commitment, and your passion. Your passion for the library as a community institution, and for this facility, for excellent public service, your passion for broadening library services for those who need them, for community service, for your profession, your passion for the library staff and staff development, your passion for providing access to information, for literature and for the UNESCO City of Literature, your passion for fiscal responsibility, for collaboration, for facilitating access to the library and library services, your passion for maintaining the vitality of downtown, for being at the leading edge of library services, for making the Iowa City Public Library a tangible and relevant community resource, and your passion for the critical importance and the intangible role of public libraries have in a democratic nation. Your passion for strategic thinking and for pragmatism, your passion for the community and for plants, and your passion for your children and your grandchildren and ours. So upon your retirement, we look forward to bumping into you frequently, and we hope you reinvent yourself in great ways. Perhaps you'll spend more time in the 910ing, or we know you like the 710s, and certainly the 800s, and the 640s, and the 780s, and even the 770s, and perhaps you'll find time for the 60s. And maybe sometime soon, many of us will cross paths with you again when we're volunteering at the Iowa City Public Library, something we will all look forward to doing. So thank you for your exceptional service, and the very best to you in your future endeavors. Now it's my pleasure to introduce David Bright. David, yes. Another Iowa City native, a younger and brighter attorney, pun intended, who is presently serving the community as and the library as president of the Iowa City Public Library Friends Foundation Board. David.
Well, it occurred to me, I now know why there's a 5-minute limit on speakers, is because you have 2 attorneys up here today, so. Patty said that before, I thought, 5 minutes, boy, that seems short, now I get it, so. Well, good planning on Patty's part. I would like to echo some of the remarks that Robin and Tom have both made. I'm 48 years old. So in my entire lifetime, Susan has been working in one library, which is a concept that I just find to be amazing and impressive beyond belief. I'm in a generation where if you've been working for 41 years and you've had one career, you're an outlier. And I think it shows amazing dedication on her part and commitment to the library and to our community to have been here for so long and have done such an outstanding job in her roles with the library. In the recent newsletter, I had the pleasure of writing a column about her retirement, and I was thinking about many of the things that had happened during her time here. And the 3 that came to mind were, as Tom mentioned, the basically construction of a new library twice, right? Because you moved across the street once during your time and then built a new building, and then built a new building in place of the new building. I think for any single director, that's an amazing accomplishment to go through that. And then beyond that, to go through the transformation of libraries in 2 ways. One, in terms of moving from print to digital, and then maybe back more towards print, but still digital, and trying to navigate that transition in the way we process and receive and review information. And then also the transition of libraries. And I've always thought of libraries as community centers, but I think as I've watched them evolve over my lifetime, that's been a very noticeable change to where the library is not just a reference for where can I find this book, but it is a reference for where can I find this in my community? Where can I find this help? Where can I find this information? Where can I find this access? And I think it is in large part due to the staff of the library and Susan that this library has been able to navigate those 2, and they're ongoing transitions. They aren't stopping, obviously. They will continue. But I think it's to her credit and the credit of the staff that this library has been able to serve the community so well as those 2 transitions have occurred. Also, when I was thinking about this, I started to think about Susan as a person and how I've gotten to know her over the last 4 to 5 years in serving on the Foundation Board of Directors. And in that context, 3 more things come to mind. The first is knowledge. I was speaking with one of the library staff this morning about how Susan had imparted what she believed about the operation of a library and how to prepare for your days working here. And one of the things that person said was she always taught us to be over-prepared. And I thought that is something I've experienced firsthand. Every time I'm sitting in a meeting and I have a question, and I look over and I ask Susan, she has the answer. In fact, she probably had the answer queued up before because she could see where that question was going to come up in the conversation and knew it. And it's always impressed me how thorough her knowledge is, not just about the core aspects of her job, but about what the library does as an organization, how the library fits into the city, how the city works. It's really a very broad knowledge set, and it's always been impressive. And I think that's one thing that I will miss about working with her. The other one is her sense of humor. When I come into meetings on occasion, I will look to see where is Michael Lensing and where is Susan Craig, and I'm not going to sit between the 2 of them. I'm just going to pick one and sit next. And so now that I've transitioned to being the president of the board, I sit next to Susan at the meeting, so I've actually been able to put some separation in there to keep myself on task, because otherwise I'd find that I would just laugh probably more than is appropriate for serving as the president of a foundation meeting. But I've always enjoyed her sense of humor, very straightforward, oftentimes very subtle, but always very, very funny. And the last thing, and this was something that I found more through the process of watching the hiring go on, is her grace. Not often do you have to watch the next person who's going to be in your job come on. Most of us have the benefit of having packed up the office and moved on and left that part behind. But as a public official, essentially, I guess, or as a public position, Susan has had to go through watching that happen, and I have watched her do it with just absolute style and grace, and I couldn't have been more impressed, and I'm going to miss you. All right, and now is my turn to turn it over to Carl Ogston.
I think I have a couple helpers who are going to come up. Where are my sewers? My name is Kara Logston. I'm the Community and Access Services Coordinator, and I'll be celebrating 20 years here in 2 weeks, and it's been 20 amazing years. So on behalf of the staff, we want to express what an honor and privilege it's been to work with you, Susan. You're an exemplary leader and a tremendous advocate for library services. Thank you for everything we've learned from you and for leading a team that makes a difference in our community every day. We didn't want you to forget us, so we made a gift for you we hope will help you remember. Remember all the fun we've had and all the difference that you've made in our community. Thank you.
It's in a Baker and Taylor box.
So if you guys could help hold it up after she gets it out.
Here, you want us to hold it? You know what Minky's like, it's shedding all over the place. But it's nice and cuddly.
And I'll just explain, every year, we, as a staff, march in the homecoming parade, and we also have a summer library T-shirt. So this is made of all the T-shirts over many years. So lots and lots of happy memories in this quilt. And then I'll turn it over to Robin.
What a wonderful idea. So still in the mindset of celebration here, the Friends Foundation, the trustees, and the managerial staff want to celebrate Susan in a very public way. And when we talked with Susan about what would be most meaningful, with her tremendous sense of humility, she spoke about doing something that would be for others. And so what we have decided to do is there will be a bench put together in City Park near her, or in Hickory Hill Park near her home, for everyone to be able to celebrate the plants and the outside life as she wants us to. So, thank you. Are you coming from it? Again, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to be here and celebrate Susan. Susan's going to take a few minutes just to share some of her thoughts with us.
You okay? Okay. I asked Patty if I had to talk, and she said no. So you can see what a good manager I am. They lie to me all the time, but always for good reason. Thank this from my heart. Thank you so much for being here. You know, it really is not about me. It's about the library. And people say, how could you stay here so long? Well, it's Iowa City and it's the public library. Why would I leave? You know, people have said, you know, you could go to a bigger community, you could go to a bigger library, and my answer is, but I couldn't go to a community that treasures its library more than Iowa City does. I could not. My heart is in Iowa City and in this library, and I'm not going anywhere. I will be around for a long time. It is a treasure. It is such a good fit for our community. You know, you all need to make sure that it stays that way, because it's listening to you. You know, when Dave says she seems to have the answer, well, the answer that I hope I have always tried to have is what's best for the community, what's best for the staff. How is this all going to work together and make everything be better than it was before? So thank you so much for being here and making this institution what it is today. Thank you.